Welcome to Horns High Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these is less than 666 seconds, which if you're keeping track at home, that's 11 minutes and 6 seconds. This is the 20th one of these that I've done, so I think that's cool and a little milestone here. I want to thank all of you that have been supporting the channel and leaving the great comments. And here we go again. We're going Idaho 4. And I got a lot to cover, so I'm going to get started, share this with you, and let's talk about weapons, all right? What weapons were used? I got thinking about this, the other day, about topics we could cover, maybe stuff I haven't seen or watched on other channels, and I know that the weapons, the K-bar has been addressed, but some of these other ones I haven't seen. Wanted to bring it up. But remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. These are my opinions, speculation, everything's alleged. So it is just to generate discussion about the topic. That's all. All right. I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything illegal. I'm just talking about this case that fascinates so many of us. Now, I think that it is very possible that a gun was used in this. I haven't heard that mentioned anywhere. And what better way to control people in a situation where you need full control? You can't have anybody calling 911. Plus, unless they had some inside information, I can't imagine a guy going into a house with 6 cars in the parking lot with a knife. I'm just not seeing it unless they knew that there were only the people there that they thought were going to be there and that they were peacefully tucked in their beds, or so to speak. I could see 2 or 3 people at least inside the house and one or more of them having a handgun or a gun. Even a fake gun would have worked. I mean, a lot of those are incredibly realistic. 3D printed gun, doesn't have to be a real gun. I don't think they would have needed that in this situation. And I think there were at least one person outside as a lookout, maybe doubling as a getaway driver. Not sure. Now, we've heard rumors that the victims were tied up and gagged. Now, I certainly think that's a possibility, despite the fact that they say that wasn't the case. The person doing this or persons doing this would have wanted to keep the noise down. Obviously, neighbors are close, and we know they don't hesitate calling 911 on this house. So you would have to keep things quiet. We've heard mention of kill kits from Steve G in some interviews. I think it makes perfect sense that the person or persons would have brought a duffel bag or a backpack with them, maybe a couple, with all the stuff they needed, including a change of clothes. Now, the K-bar knife, even if it was used, it makes no logical sense that someone's entering a house with the cars, as I mentioned, with a knife. Even a K-bar, I mean, it's a big, bad son of a gun, but I can't see it, all right? Now, if you're bringing a K-bar, let's say, you're going to have the sheath on properly through your belt. You've seen that on other channels before. They've talked about how you wear the sheath on the belt. And you're not going to be walking in there holding the sheath. It makes no sense whatsoever. And if anybody thinks that that's a way somebody's going into a house to do what they did, I'd love to see your rationale down below, because that is absolutely ridiculous. To me, I think the sheath could be a red herring meant to throw us off, or possibly planted evidence. And I'm not saying just by the police, and we've talked about that in other videos. Could have been planted by somebody else, but I'd have my suspicions that it was planted to frame Brian. I'm not sure why or how exactly. Of course, none of us do. But I am planning on doing a video on the sheath and that touch DNA evidence, if you want to call it that. The autopsy says that 2 different weapons left the wounds on Maddie and Kaylee. We've heard the words tearing of flesh. That doesn't really sound like knife stab wounds to me. I know there were some stab wounds, but not all of them were stab wounds. They were different. So it sounds to me more like a machete or a sword or something like that. Something extremely brutal. It is possible there were, multiple attackers and they would have used different weapons, and it could have been to confuse the investigators. Not sure. Since some of the murder weapons, or none of the murder weapons have been found, I mean, we can only speculate on what was used, but I still believe a gun or guns were there to help control the victims, to keep things from leaving that house. And that's just kind of a hunch that I've got. I've done a lot of true crime cases on Murder Metal Mayhem, and that's why I'm thinking that. In my opinion, it is possible that Xana and Ethan were attacked first after they ate pizza at midnight when Xana called her dad. I mean, that seems to be a conveniently discarded piece of a fact that I heard, that her dad said that she called him at midnight. So why would we think that that wasn't the case? Why would he lie about that? But it doesn't jive with Dylan's account that they were at that Sigma Chi fraternity party until like 1:45. So the autopsy would show what they ate and when they ate it. I'd love to see those results. Then they waited until Maddie and Kaylee showed up and went to bed before they attacked them. Of course, they were in a small room with nowhere to go. This would have been a much easier situation to control if they attacked two of them at one time and two another time, or if there were multiple attackers, like 3 or 4, where they could have hit both rooms at the same time. The other option that I think is very feasible is they brought them all into the living room and did what they did in there. But I've not seen anything that points that direction. It's just a potential maybe. I think Maddie and Kaylee were attacked around 3 a.m. after the last call to Jack Decor, which was right before 3. And he's a whole different video I'm going to have to do because his story is really questionable. Then the attackers would have had plenty of time to wash up, change clothes, bag up the dirty clothes, and head back out that sliding door to the getaway vehicle. When I was in the Army many years ago, we took plenty of baths, if you want to call them baths, with baby wipes. Sometimes we didn't have any water. If we did, it was very little. And it could be done very quickly. So with 2 bathrooms, they could have taken showers while they were there for all we know. And did the police check the drains? I have no idea, but I certainly have my doubts. Let's just say that. So lots of things to think about in this case. And I wanted to share kind of how I thought things may have gone down. Of course, all my conjecture and opinion. Love to see what you guys think. You guys always have some great ideas and suggestions. I've pointed this out before. You guys have provided lots of information for me to do episodes of this channel. So I appreciate it very much. If you like what I do, you can listen to me every week on the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast. It's on most podcast platforms, or you can listen at murdermetalmayhem.com. Again, I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.